Our first reading is James 1:17 to 27. Be doers of the word. Every generous act of giving with every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Creator of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. In fulfillment of their own purpose, they gave birth to us by word of truth, so that we would become the kind of first fruits of God's creatures. You must understand this, my beloved brothers and sisters. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for human anger does not produce God's righteousness. Therefore, rid yourselves of all sordidness and rank growth of wickedness, and welcome with meekness the implanted word that has the power to save your souls. But be doers of the word, not merely hearers, who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and, going away, immediately forget what they were like. But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and persevere, being not hearers who forget, but doers who act, they will be blessed in their doing. If any think they are religious and do not bridle their tongues, but deceive their hearts, their religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before the Holy One is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Our second reading comes from Mark 7, verses 1 to 8, 14 to 15, and 21 to 23. Authentic religion. Now when the Pharisees and some of the scribes who had come from Jerusalem gathered around him, they noticed that some of his disciples were eating with defiled hands, that is, without washing them. For the Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they thoroughly wash their hands, thus observing the tradition of the elders, and they do not eat anything from the market unless they wash. And there are also many other traditions that they observe, the washing of cups and pots and bronze kettles and beds. So the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not walk according to the traditions of the elders, but eat with defiled hands?" He said to them, "Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, 'The people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandment of God and hold to human tradition.'" Then he called the crowd again and said to them, "Listen to me, all of you, and understand. There is nothing outside a person that by going in can defile, but the things that come out are what defile. For it is from within, from the human heart, that evil intentions come: sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, wickedness, deceit, debauchery, envy, slander, pride, folly. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person." Together we say, "May God bless to our learning and understanding these words from the Scripture."
Jesus and the table, Jesus at the table. What's happening here when we break bread and share the cup at this table? What was Jesus up to all those years ago with his radical dining? Going into the wrong homes, eating with huge crowds, telling people they were going to host him, picking grain to eat on the Sabbath, not washing his hands in the approved way according to today's scripture. He thought deeply about the power of eating together, the sacredness of it. There are too many stories about Jesus and food for this to be an accident. He wanted to break down barriers to the table in his time. What's happening with us when we listen to Jesus' stories as we share bread and juice? What are the social barriers in this day and age? Barriers to the table, barriers to food justice, barriers to justice. Most of us have been celebrating communion for a long time. It would be fun to hear about all the different places that people here have communed with others. If we had time to hear everyone's take on what communion means to them, we'd be here for a long time, I think. And maybe you'll do that some other day. Before that, though, what is this piece of furniture actually? In some churches, it's an altar. No legs, but a big, solid platform on which something can be ritually sacrificed. In this church, it's a table where a meal can be spread. What's the difference? A very common response to life's challenges is to sacrifice something. Weather bad for the crops? Did something unfortunate happen that is messing up family life? Need divine assistance to take on enemies camped outside the city walls? Bring grain or a bird or something bigger, a goat or an ox even, to the altar and give it to God. If it's a living thing, cut its throat, drain the blood into the special receptacle, put some of the offering on the fire near the altar, and let the smell of the burning substance rise up to God like incense, a symbol of how serious you are or how sorry for your sin. Your relationship with the holy is one of appeasing divine anger or finagling divine help, kind of transactional. Look at all I'm doing for you, God, all I'm spending, all I'm giving up. Play ball, do me a solid. A table, though, is so different. At a table we feed or are fed, we tell stories, we enjoy the others who are there, we start off in need, hungry, and gradually move to contentment. When I had meals with families in Newfoundland, that was in the last millennium, it's a long time ago, they would start the meal with a prayer, a grace, and also end it with a grace. Something I wasn't familiar with from my own family, but that may be something you do at your house. To reflect hunger at the beginning and contentment at the end. Two different kinds of thanksgiving. Eating together is at the heart of our Christian faith. You can have a church without a cross up on the wall, but you can't have a church without a table. This is not a transaction when we gather here. To be clear, God is not pleased with our sin, personal or societal, not our environmental sin or racial or economic, but God's response is to set a table. And what's on the table? Love, forgiveness, new hope. A reminder to people, especially people who are starving or in the dumps, people getting kicked around, of their worth in the eyes of the holy. It's an immersion in abundance. Is a table adequate, though, in the face of our sin? What the letter of James calls sordidness and the rank growth of wickedness. Isn't a meal, a table, kind of religion light compared to sacrificing things with blood and fire and smoke? Jesus didn't think so. He skewered what we would call today performative religion. Look at me, how humble and faithful I am, washing my hands, following all the rules. Meanwhile, he wanted people to go deeply inside, to honor the holy, not with their lips, but with their hearts. He figured out that a meal, even a simple meal, could be the thing that helped this happen.